responsibility to provide our next generation with the guidance, the fortitude, the strength, the community, and knowledge that they need to succeed.
We gotta cancel culture, change the way our kids are thinking. Think about the pain and anguish we can save next generation. Break the cycle, no administration, replacing anger with contemplation. Gotta teach them how to use their minds. Remind our kids they born divine. With a right to be, with a right to live, with a right to be exactly.
Grand Rising. Good afternoon. Blessed evening. Whichever part of the day you decide to watch this. It's me, Coach B. This is Anger Management for Parents. It's not the kids, it's you, a book written by Matthew Grand. And today we are about to undergo our journey of chapter 5. And there's a couple of things I want to talk about first, right? It says anger is usually a response to threat. The threat can be to one of the following things, or more. It could be multiple things, but just a few that come off the top is like your sense of self-worth, your core beliefs, your physical well-being, or the well-being of someone else who you believe it is your role to protect. So you have to decide whenever you're feeling these things come up, you're feeling activated, right? You're feeling these big emotions. What are the things that you believe that make you valuable and worthy as a person? And are they being threatened? What about your core beliefs? Somebody threatening or challenging the things that you believe that are really embedded in your soul. Your physical well-being, I mean, that's obvious. If somebody's physically trying to harm you, anger might be a natural response, rightfully so. And then think about if you are, protecting somebody that you love, especially a child, a spouse, a sibling, a parent. Is that person being threatened? And they could be threatened in any of those ways, right? And so just think about that a little bit. Maybe do some self inventory when it comes to like the last time you got angry. Can you narrow it down to one of those? Was your self worth being threatened? Your core beliefs, your physical well being, the well being of someone else who you think that you owe it to protect? Just sit on that for a moment. But in the meantime, let's get through chapter 5 together. The power of perspectives and communication. In times of great stress or adversity, it's always best to keep busy, to plow your anger and your energy into something positive. So, channeling your anger. From slight annoyance to overwhelming fury, the variety of emotions we undergo are all different shades of anger. It's essential to understand that experiencing anger is a natural part of being human, and we all encounter it now and again. The key aspect, however, lies in our awareness of its presence and our ability to guide it constructively and beneficially. Anger can become a useful instrument that equips us to defend ourselves and others, as well as to set firm boundaries. Furthermore, it has the capacity to be a compelling motivator for positive transformation in our own lives and the lives of those we interact with. Have you ever wondered why we tend to scream, lash out, or even summon extraordinary strength with bursts of energy or when anger takes hold? It's as though anger ignites a wild burst of energy within us, compelling us to seek an immediate outlet. The reason behind it all lies in the fact that emotions, anger included, are nothing less than untamed energy. Think about it. Emotions are not these intangible, elusive things that float around in our minds. They're real forces coursing through our veins, fueling our actions and reactions. When anger boils up inside us, that energy manifests in our bodies, ready to be released. It's quite amazing how anger can unlock hidden powers we were unaware of possessing. For instance, it can prove extremely useful when we are faced with direct and immediate threats to our safety. It's like a dormant volcano suddenly erupting with tremendous power. That burst of energy stimulates our muscles, enhances our concentration, and instills us with the bravery to act. The interesting thing that anger is only one type of energy. Each emotion we feel has its own type of energy and effect. Whether it's love, anxiety, enthusiasm, they all possess distinct energy patterns that can be used to our advantage. When controlled and directed appropriately, anger can transform into a superpower that propels us to face challenges directly, pursue personal improvement, and serve as a catalyst for defending ourselves, our values, safeguarding our loved ones, and taking decisive, overdue actions. There are many inspiring stories of regular people who have used their anger as a way to achieve great success. These stories show us that when we channel our emotions in positive ways, we can tap into our own incredible power. Take, for instance, an entrepreneur who, feeling frustrated and desire a change, takes a leap of faith and launches their own business. Their anger at the lack they encounter becomes the driving force behind their entrepreneurial journey. Through perseverance and hard work, they build a thriving business, showcasing that anger can be the initial spark leading to success. Another example involves an artist who channels their anger into their creative process. They convey their anger through their art, questioning societal norms and evoking powerful responses in others. Their anger becomes a wellspring of inspiration that drives them to push boundaries and create a significant impact through their artistic output. Consider Frida Kahlo, the renowned Mexican painter, known for her self portraits and art that depict a tremendous amount of anguish and passion. By positively harnessing and steering your anger, you unlock an incredible engine for growth and transformation in your own life and in the lives of those around you. You possess the power to make a truly extraordinary impact on your world and the people you cherish. It all starts with you. So, here are some practical tips for channeling your anger. Acknowledge your anger. Recognize and accept your feelings without judgment. This is a necessary step towards channeling your anger into something productive. Next, identify the root cause. Determine the specific triggers for your anger to address them effectively. Next, pause and breathe. Right? Take a moment to collect yourself and practice deep breathing to calm your emotions. Then you can reframe your thoughts. Change your perspective by looking at the situation from a more positive angle. I cannot emphasize enough how important this is. Then map out goals. Use the energy from your anger to set specific goals that align with your values. Engage in physical activity. Exercise can help release tension and stress, turning your anger into positive energy. Next, channel anger into creativity. Use your emotions as fuel for creative projects such as writing, painting, or composing music. Practice assertiveness. Communicate your feelings and needs effectively without being aggressive or confrontational. Develop problem solving skills. Look for solutions to the issues that trigger your anger rather than dwelling on negative emotions. Use anger to take productive actions like learning a new hobby or skill, volunteering, starting a new project, or advocating for change. A new perspective. All of these are really great tips. Collectively, a recipe for self mastery. Individually, they might be hard to start to apply to your own life, but practice, right? You got to start somewhere. Set a small goal to be assertive in a space where maybe you haven't been before. Something like that. Okay. A new perspective. An essential transformative step you can embark on involves adjusting your viewpoint on anger. we often find ourselves reacting impulsively due to anger, allowing it to govern our actions. However, when you start to perceive anger as an indicator rather than merely an emotion, that's when genuine growth initiates. What exactly do I mean by indicator? Well, think of it like the lights on your car's dashboard. When those lights illuminate, they're signaling that something needs attention, something needs to be changed, replaced, or fixed. The same principle applies to your emotions, including anger. When anger begins to surface within you, it acts as an alarm to your body, mind, and spirit that something isn't aligning with your authentic self. It's an indication that something needs to be addressed, changed, replaced, or fixed. Now, visualize what occurs when you disagree, when you disregard the warning lights on your vehicle's dashboard for an extended period. A minor issue that could have been swiftly dealt with, like an oil change, abruptly escalates into a substantial problem, such as a damaged transmission, or straightforward tire change morphs into a complete bumper replacement following a slippery accident. Similarly, just as you pay heed to the indicators in your car, it's crucial that you consider your anger and other emotions as signals too. If you ignore them and merely react to them without truly understanding the underlying message, you'll be disregarding the warning signs from your body. And just like with your car, this can manifest into other issues in your life. So consider a scenario where your two children clutter the newly cleaned house you just tidied, causing you to become rather irritated. Most people might respond by scolding or disciplining their kids, but not you. You understand that anger is merely an indicator of something that doesn't align with you as a person. And in this case, you've realized that while you don't mind your children playing, a messy house truly upsets you. It really gets you boiling. I feel like Matthew Grant is talking to my wife right now. So rather than reacting, you set a clear objective that you will find an efficient method to either prevent your children from cluttering the house or devise a way to maintain regular cleanliness. In this instance, you could establish a dedicated play area or room where they can play and create a mess freely. Alternatively, you can set a specific playtime a few hours prior to your scheduled cleaning and make it clear that once playtime is over, no further messes will be accepted. Acknowledging your preference for a clean home, you can assign particular chores to family members to help sustain neatness throughout the day, even engage a cleaning service to aid you in keeping the house clean. Of course, you have to be able to afford this type of thing. Um, and leave it at that. In this manner, you can ensure that your home remains neat and orderly just as you prefer it. Our emotions serve as potent signals of our mental and emotional states. For instance, love signifies a profound feeling of affection towards someone or something, while happiness brings us delight and satisfaction. Nervousness reflects concern or anxiety about a forthcoming event, and excitement denotes eagerness and anticipation. Anger, although frequently perceived as negative, can also provide valuable insights into our deeper issues, frustrations, and even perceived threats. By altering our perspective on anger and visualizing it as the warning lights on a car dashboard, we can develop effective strategies to reduce and overcome future instances of irritation. Next, the power of effective communication in building stronger connections. Very interested about this section, Mr. Matthew Graham, because the question is, how can we communicate effectively? There's a lot more to effective communication than simply sharing information. For instance, effective communication includes active listening, being transparent and concise when expressing yourself, and being attentive to the receiver's needs and body language. Additionally, we need to recognize the emotions triggering our words. Sometimes we may think that what we are saying is clear and evident. However, sometimes the person receiving our message may receive it very differently from what we intended. Thus, disagreements between coworkers, friends, family members, spouses, and parents, children can arise as a result of all these factors. I feel like Matthew's talking to me right now. No taken. The art of communication isn't as complicated as it might seem. You only need to learn how to have meaningful relationships with others, how to prioritize trust and respect for others, how to solve problems, and how to improve their mental health. So, the importance of effective communication. Communicating well is like striking gold. It's a skill that builds trust and teamwork in all relationships, no matter the age. Being a parent is a tough job, but it's also filled with so many rewards, like the chance to shape your child's future. As a parent, you're in a unique position to show your children with love, guide them, and be their mentor. You become their hero. By talking and listening to your child, you can build a strong bond of trust, boosting their confidence and letting them know they can tackle any challenge that comes their way. Your job as a parent is to guide your children toward being responsible adults and reaching their full potential. You need to teach them how to engage with others in everyday situations and discover their hidden talents. By setting a positive example, you can help them grow into reliable, confident, and well mannered individuals. Parents who are firm but fair and maintain open lines of communication with their children set a great example. These communication skills are invaluable and will serve your children well throughout their lives. As a result, they learn how to interact, communicate, and form connections with others while also understanding their own feelings, needs, and intentions. To live harmoniously, we need to listen and understand each other. Effective communication can help us engage in stress, resolve disagreements, and manage lasting, healthy relationships. As a parent, always remember that communication is the key, and it is the most crucial element in building trust with your children. For communication to work well, it's important that everyone involved understands the concept of give and take. For instance, if you listen to your child without interrupting, they should learn to do the same for you. Similarly, if you show attentiveness and care towards your child, they will learn to reciprocate. Keep in mind that the age of your child may affect how quickly they pick up the skills that you demonstrate. Nonetheless, with your patience, guidance, and teaching, they will eventually master it. A good parent encourages their children to respond to open ended questions. When you actively listen to your child, they will feel heard. During your conversation, allow them to form their own answers. This way, they can express their feelings and thoughts rather than just answering with a yes or no. To effectively teach your child something, you should be patient and wait until they have absorbed all the necessary information. Patience allows them to reflect on the lessons in their own unique way and develop a problem solving mindset. This is very true. And in my work as a coach, both a recovery coach and a certified peer counseling, the go to is open ended questions. Asking questions that will not require a yes or no answer is like the cheat code to communication and understanding somebody. So, Matthew, you're onto something. This approach allows your child to learn from their mistakes and reduces the likelihood of them repeating them. Okay, strategies for effective communication. Gary Gillis' research offers some valuable insights on how to enhance communication with your child. Here are some key takeaways. 1. Listen with your entire body. If you sense your child wants to talk to you, make sure you are giving them all of your attention. For instance, if you take the time to make eye contact, kneel if necessary, or even tilt your head, it will show your child that you are sincerely listening. This will make them feel safe and heard and will encourage them to open up and talk freely. Number 2, pick up on the emotion. Be aware of your child's body language or speech when their feelings are clearly evident. It is always beneficial and tremendously helpful when you repeat what they have said. This proves to them that you are fully listening to them, caring for their feelings and opinions, and are interested in hearing them. For example, you might say, "Are you feeling angry because I won't let you play around with water when it's cold?" Hmm. These pondering questions will allow your child to clarify or reiterate how they feel, which usually leads to more dialogue. And then recognize your child's emotions. So it's like pick up on the emotion, then recognize the child's emotion. One of the clearest and most soothing answers we can give to another person, especially a youngster, is empathy. When you acknowledge their feelings, you affirm them. This includes emotions like anger, irritation, and disappointment, which are usually considered negative. In many cases, the simple act of acknowledging a child's feelings is enough to get them to start dealing with the problem. By validating your child's emotions, they become aware of them, allowing them to process and feel them and start recognizing them in others. Next is postpone the correction until more information is available. Even if you know your child is wrong, avoid the desire to correct them immediately. Be sure to listen to what they have to say before you react. It's very important that you consider asking your child follow up questions to gain a better understanding of how they perceive things and why they think the way they do. By using this approach, you will respect your child's emotions and encourage them to express themselves freely and honestly. In this way, you are more likely to gain their cooperation if you are prepared to listen to their worries and concerns rather than simply correcting them whenever they make a mistake. I actually really like that one. Makes a lot of sense. Just so you know, I'm teaching this stuff to myself in real time. I'm taking notes as I read this stuff and I hear myself read it out loud to you. I'm thinking already of like the next time I have the opportunities to practice because really getting this book is the best thing you can do to practice these concepts because a lot of this stuff reading left to right, front to back, it's just going to go in. All the information is going to come in. You're going to get tripped up on some stuff. You might forget some stuff. But as soon as you apply concepts in real time, the information hits. It becomes a new learned behavior. So the very next opportunity after you read a section or a chapter from any book that you're trying to learn something, that you're able to apply it, that's when it's going to really take root because you're going to see whether it works for you in real time. And so that's what I suggest when you're reading any books like this, any how to's or things, especially when it's about human emotions. You're going to be given an opportunity probably within the 24 hours. If you're a parent and you're watching these videos, you might get an opportunity while you're watching this video to practice some of these techniques. So think about applying them as soon as possible. So next, consider the problem from your child's perspective. As parents, we frequently assume that our children understand adult-like thinking patterns and fail to consider how they might think or interpret a given situation. So consider the child's perspective before reacting. Take a brief moment and ask yourself, are there developmental requirements they're not aware of or seeking at the moment? For example, let's take the scenario when your child goes through an emotional breakdown in front of the babysitter as you prepare to leave the house with your spouse for a much needed night out. You could either get frustrated and disregard your child's behavior or ask yourself, what am I doing wrong? What is my child trying to communicate at this time? What particular requirement do they have that I should be aware of? Is their frantic behavior, for instance, a scream for comfort, security, reassurance, or something else entirely? Understanding that certain behaviors are tied to developmental requirements helps you provide an appropriate intervention with a great deal of patience and logic. So I'm going to take a break and interject some information from my own coaching and parenting style. One thing that I've also taken from being a life coach, recovery coach, a certified peer counselor is how important orienting can be. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the term orienting, it simply means to orient somebody to a process that they're about to be involved in, right? So start to finish. It's really helpful, and I find I've done this with my kids when I've said, hey, at this time, even if it's a couple days ahead of time, and then continue to remind and orient. So it's Wednesday, and we know Saturday they're going to need a babysitter, or we're going to take them somewhere because we're going to a movie. We would let them know each day, hey, don't forget on this day, you're going to your grandma's, or you're doing this, and we're going to this movie, or we're going to this event, and then we'll be back. Even times when we have to work nights, which sometimes my wife and I work nights, we orient them to, hey, someone's going to come over and watch you. Because when you know what's going on, when you know what is happening, and it's not like a surprise or some big ordeal, then it's a lot easier to deal with it, because then it gives them time to process it premeditatedly, think on it. So remember to orient our children to things like this particular scenario. If all of a sudden you they hear a ring of the doorbell and you haven't told them, and you're all getting dressed and ready, and they're already in their little minds thinking, oh, we're going somewhere, and then the doorbell rings, and then it's somebody that'll come watch them, and then you're telling them, all right, we're out of here, here's your babysitter. It's probably not going to go over as well as if they knew a few days ago, or even a few hours earlier, if they just knew what was going to happen ahead of time rather than dropping it on somebody. And that's true across all ages of life. If people orient you to a process, it's a lot easier, and it causes a lot less anxiety about something, especially if it's something you didn't know or you're unfamiliar with. So there's that. So right back to Matthew Grant's book. So instead of shaming your child, concentrate on their behavior. Shaming a child lowers their self-esteem and their sense of self-worth. Example: if a 10-year-old child spills milk at supper for the third time this week, and their father starts screaming in wrath, you idiot, you can't be more careful. These humiliations make the child feel defective over time and not good enough. Instead, focus on the behavior might be a better strategy. The father may comment, it's fine, let's get a towel and mop it up. It was only a minor oversight. Instead of reaching for goods, please ask people at the table to hand them to you. It is tremendously important to know that a child does not know how to rectify their defects, but they can learn to modify their behavior if educated in a positive and supportive atmosphere. Next bullet point is encourage your child to consider solutions in advance. When you cannot agree on something with your child, ask them what they would like to see happen or change. In this way, you teach them that every problem has a solution. If possible, you can also allow them to come up with a sensible answer to an issue they are struggling with. When we encourage our children to participate in the solution, they are more likely to stick with it. Interjection. This is so true. So with my older children that are out of the house already, I used to always ask them, I would say, are you those who focus on problems or solutions? And that was kind of like our little motto, like, hey, we're a family of solutions. So the kids would come to me and they would arguing about each other or a thing or telling on each other. And I'd say, okay, I see the problem, but who has a solution? And I would include them. And the same thing with their punishments or with their correctiveness. If something happened, I would include all of them. So what do you guys think I should do as a parent? Or what would you do if you were a parent and your child did this and we know the rule is this? What is the solution to this particular problem? That would really invite engagement. So what he's saying here, I've seen in real time, and depending on your parenting style, you can really incorporate that, really instill in your children that everybody focuses on problems. It's so easy to stack problems and to zero in on problems, but how many of you are actually focused on solutions? How many of you thrive in the problems being an opportunity to provide a solution? Like kids love video games. You can word it in a way where it's like, hey, this is like a next level. You have a problem. In video games, when you get from one level to the next, it's because you solved problems. So this is the next level. How are you going to solve this problem? What's your solution to get to the next level where you guys are playing good and Nobody's in this. This is just a problem that you can handle. Think about it. How? So there's that. Back to Matthew Graham's book. Building a healthy and robust bond with your children hinges on effective communication. If this communication falters, repercussions can be severe, leading to a dip in self confidence and self worth. This can cast a shadow over the child's future adult life. Indeed, without open and supportive dialogue with their parents, children may feel neglected, dismissed, unsupported, and unheard. Serious issues like self doubt, insecurity, mistrust, and poor relationships can take root. These problems can linger into adulthood for those children who frequently feel overlooked or invalidated by their parents. The next section here is consequences of lack of communication in parenting. As parents, it's crucial to understand the profound influence our communication has on our children and our relationship with them. The quality of our communication can shape whether our child grows up to be confident, self assured, or feels detached, uncertain, and anxious. Let's delve into the potential repercussions that can stem from a lack of effective communication with your child. The first bullet is lack of trust and intimacy. When parents fail to communicate effectively with their children, it can strain their relationship and result in trust issues and a lack of intimacy. Throughout your child's life, they will need your guidance and direction. If there is a lack of intimacy and trust between you and your child, you leave them open and vulnerable to receive advice from outside sources who do not necessarily have their best interests at heart. As a parent, there is no greater feeling than knowing your child is comfortable opening up to you about their personal issues. It creates trust and emotional safety within your family when your child knows they can confide in you, even if they have made a mistake. Next bullet point is lack of accountability. Lack of effective communication between parents and their children can negatively affect the child's accountability. For instance, if parents have poor communication skills, causing their instructions and expectations to be unclear and inefficient, the children may feel confused, lost, and helpless. Moreover, when the communication breaks down, the child may not understand the consequences of their misbehaviors or even the lessons they must learn from their mistakes. More alarmingly, children might not children might not take their parents seriously if the latter are not consistent in their communication and enforcement of rules at home. They don't truly believe there will be any serious consequences for their misbehaviors. As such, the child may not hold themselves accountable for their actions, and it can even affect them in their adulthood, making them stuck in the victim role, blaming everyone else for their own mistakes but themselves. Next bullet point, discipline and behavior issues. Your child may not have a clear understanding of what is expected of them at home or school if you do not provide them with precise and unambiguous instructions to follow. Additionally, if your child doesn't feel that you are invested in their lives by consistently communicating with them, guiding them, and setting a good example, they will not feel motivated to follow your rules and expectations, which leads to misbehavior and lack of discipline. Lack of motivation, the next bullet point. So if you don't communicate regularly with your children, they may feel neglected, small, and unimportant. Moreover, if your child does not receive feedback, encouragement, or feedback on their progress, this can easily lead them to feel completely demotivated because they may feel their efforts, hard work, and achievements are not valuable. Many times we mistake a child's poor performance in school or perhaps in their sports team as a total lack of skill or motivation on their part. In reality, all they want from their parents is their approval and acceptance. They want to see that their parents are proud and enthusiastic when they get high grades or hit that home run. Your positive emotions and pride in them are what they want to feel. Taking the time to communicate to your emotions and showing them how much you appreciate them will ignite their inner motivation, and they will work even harder to please not only you but themselves as well. Next bullet point says poor relationships with others. Remember that a child grows up and learns to be an adult through your everyday behaviors. If you haven't taken the time to sharpen your own communication skills, then your child won't bother to learn effective communication skills either. They will grow up struggling to build and maintain relationships with others. If children grow up in an environment where communication with their parents is poor, They may struggle to express themselves because they weren't able to develop these strong communication skills growing up. This also affects their ability to express their thoughts and feelings clearly and effectively to their friends, colleagues, and romantic partners, making it difficult to form strong and close connections. Moreover, if a child doesn't have a positive model of conflict resolution, they may struggle to resolve their conflicts and disagreements with others in a healthy and productive way. Poor communication also makes it difficult and challenging to trust others. Indeed, children who did not have positive experiences communicating with their parents and felt judged, unheard, unseen, or misunderstood will struggle in their adulthood to trust others and form critical connections. Next bullet point is substance abuse. Children who feel disconnected from their parents, unable to feel understood, loved, valued, and safe, may struggle to cope with negative emotions and may turn to harmful coping mechanisms. They may start using alcohol, drugs, or other substances as a coping mechanism to avoid these negative feelings they are unable to process or even express. Substance abuse can have alarming consequences on their physical, emotional, and mental health. In addition to substance abuse, some children might experience a deep feeling of disconnection from their parents and may engage in destructive coping mechanisms like self harm, toxic eating disorders, or risky sexual behaviors. The next bullet point is low self esteem and lack of self confidence. When a child doesn't have a supportive environment where they can feel heard, seen, and validated, they soon start doubting themselves and struggling to trust their capabilities and strengths. It's important to note that the main foundation of our children's success is their self esteem. The lower our children's self esteem is, the more difficult it will be for them to gain the bravery to speak up and express themselves freely and authentically. Consequently, our children frequently fear being judged and are anxious and stressed about not meeting our standards. They even start believing that they will be abandoned if they don't meet their loved ones' expectations. Here are some of the symptoms of low self esteem: negative self talk and body language. When your child is stressed, pay attention to how they act and what they say to themselves is important. This is because the way they talk about themselves during tough times can give you important clues about how they're really feeling and whether they might need extra help. Look out for statements like, I'm not good enough, I don't have any friends, I can never succeed, I can't do it, and other similar phrases. These words can reveal deep seated feelings of unworthiness, hopelessness, lack of self confidence, and low self esteem. However, it's not just their words that show how stressed they are. Be aware of any changes in their body language as well. Are they hunching their shoulders, lowering their head, and avoiding eye contact? These can all be signs of feeling overwhelmed and out of control. Additionally, if their once sparkling eyes now look dull and shadowed, this may indicate a more profound emotional struggle. The following are some signs to look for when determining if your child suffers from negative self talk and poor self esteem: exaggeration and pessimism. A child's self esteem is more than just feeling positive about themselves all the time. Have you ever wondered how low self esteem can influence the child even when they become adults? Well, for starters, they may not see the beauty and growth potential in life's everyday experiences and challenges. They may always expect the worst and believe that negative outcomes are inevitable, regardless of what anyone else says. If you tell them they can do whatever they set their minds to, they will refuse to accept it and remain stuck in their negativity. These children constantly feel helpless, hopeless, discouraged, and defeated. If you have ever dealt with a pessimistic child, you know how draining it can be. Their main goal is to seek validation, attention, and sympathy, and they seem to see everything as a possibility to go wrong. This is certainly not the kind of mindset any parent wants for their child. Would you agree? I agree. Next is blame games. Many people, including children, often don't want to take full responsibility for their emotion. This is especially true for those who struggle with low self esteem. They may either blame themselves, which can make them feel weak and powerless, or shift the blame on others, which can make them feel defensive and aggressive. A child who blames themselves for their low self esteem may experience deep feelings of shame, worthlessness, and inadequacy. By adopting this kind of negative self talk, it becomes even harder to overcome their low self esteem and build self confidence. On the contrary, children who keep blaming others for their low self esteem may feel angry and resentful. In their minds, everything would have been different or at least better if others would change their behaviors or attitudes. Quitting. When children are unable to complete a task that seems too difficult, stressful, or overwhelming, they may feel frustrated, powerless, and defeated. They might start doubting their capabilities, strengths, and intelligence, and may even believe that they are not good enough or smart enough to complete the task at hand. These negative feelings about themselves and distorted self image might spiral out of control and lead them to give up. When they abandon completing their task, they often hold on to unfounded excuses as to why they didn't complete their assignment. Have you ever heard your child say it's stupid or boring? That's a red flag that they're about to give up. If this goes unchecked, it can quickly turn into a habitual safe haven for your child to avoid trying in order to prevent disappointment. Quitting will become routine and acceptable, while striving and doing your best will be unknown territory for your child. Clowning and avoiding. When a child feels stressed and overwhelmed by a task, they may develop a habit of avoiding it altogether. This habit is quite similar to quitting, but the difference is that the child wants to avoid starting the task in the first place or procrastinates. They may have started the task and abandoned it in the middle because they are afraid of impending disaster. When children are under pressure to complete a task, they often begin to make jokes and act ridiculous. This is called clowning. They make jokes, act silly, or engage in other disruptive behaviors to distract attention from their struggles. They are not comfortable showing their distress, fear, and vulnerability, and not only to their parents, but also to others. This can have detrimental consequences on their adult lives as they may struggle in their studies, jobs, or in their own businesses if they ever started them. Controlling. As a way of masking their feelings of inadequacy and low self esteem, many children will seek control in their interactions with others. They might become controlling, bossy, and domineering, trying to tell everyone else what to do. They will, for example, want their classmates to participate in the games and activities they have chosen and refuse to play with others who do not comply with them. Those who don't accept the controlling child's game are perceived as a threat to their power. Not complying means not following, not listening, and not executing their orders. This might be seen as being out of control for a child who tries to compensate for their deeply rooted feeling of inadequacy. This behavior can also affect their peers, who may constantly feel forced to cooperate and comply in order to be part of the validated group. Otherwise, they risk being rejected and excluded from even playing. Bullying and aggressiveness. Children who lack effective communication with their parents may struggle to accept and embrace their vulnerability and show it to others. When they are feeling vulnerable, children often bully others in order to hide their feelings and build a shield to protect themselves from being seen that vulnerable state that they keep rejecting within themselves. They pick out victims who have specific flaws, frequently those that they themselves have, and make them feel even worse about it. The fact of not being able to communicate with their parents or caregivers makes them feel frustrated. This frustration can build up over time and lead to aggression or bullying as a way to express their feelings. This lack of communication can also prevent them from understanding how their actions and behaviors are affecting others, reflecting a deep lack of empathy. Poor and weak communication between parents and children can have detrimental consequences on the family's relationship. If a situation is making you feel angry, the best thing you can do is take a step back and consider your triggers, responses, words, thoughts, and behaviors, as they have a huge impact on your children. As a grown adult, you are fully responsible for the words and actions that you take toward your children. By taking a moment to stop and reflect before acting, you will give yourself a chance to act in a more positive and healthy manner and come from a place of understanding instead of rage. All you need is a few seconds space between the trigger and your response. During those few seconds, you can catch your thoughts, breathe deeply, and let go of the anger. Reflecting on how you are communicating with your child is just one aspect of what constitutes positive parenting. The latter detail in the next chapter to help you build a strong foundation between you and your children. That concludes chapter 5, Anger Management for Parents. It's not the kids, it's you, with Coach B, written by Matthew Grand. So, chapter 6, next episode, From Negative to Positive. Make sure you like, subscribe, share with those who you believe could use some of these tips and tricks and strategies to becoming the best version of yourself. As always, this is a Pi Talk podcast production. Pi meaning pursue internal evolution. Till next time.